looking for a way to cope, all alone in a castle by yourself.
Good morning, MouseHunt. Welcome. Feedback Friday, November the 6th. All right, checking the date, whatever day it happens to be in November. How's everybody doing today? There's some people enjoying the music in the chat there, I see. Hello. Hello in the chat. Woohoo, hello. Hello, good morning. Good morning to you as well. Lady Nutsy in the chat. Hello, hello. All right. Well, there's a few things we're going to go over today. A couple little preview of what we've been working on the last few weeks, or last few Feedback Fridays. Been talking about prize mouse updates, and so kind of wanted to go over and give a little bit of a preview of what to expect with that. We're going to go over a new type of treasure map that we're working on as well that has 60 to 120 mice on it. And finally, a few little notes about the Great Winter Hunt. And then we're going to go into a few feedback questions. One's going to be about the toxic spill. So if you haven't yet, maybe check out the news poster. I'm sure maybe you've noticed a few posts here and there. Well, I want to get a little bit of feedback about the new way the toxic spill works. And finally, a little bit of feedback about prize mice as well. So after we go through a little preview of how prize mice are going to work, just have a question, want to get a little bit of feedback about that system, see what hunters think. And actually, really finally, trivia question. We'll end with that, and Larry has some rewards. So a few things to go through. There's a question in the chat. If you want to get in touch with us, you can hit the support link at the top of the game. You can do payment queries if you have problems with payments, or you can submit a bug report. So if you're having an issue with the game, you can submit a bug report that way. Otherwise, you could try the forum if that works as well. There's a community support section, and we do comb through there a little bit from time to time. So to get started here on what we're going to be working on, or give a little preview of what we've been working on, the prize mouse update. So as I said, last couple of Feedback Fridays, we mentioned we're completely overhauling the system of how prize mice work. We've gutted out the entire system and we've rewritten it from scratch. Gone are the cooldown timers of how often you can encounter a treasure, snooty, or high roller mouse after capturing one. The cooldown times have remained on the mobster and the leprechaun as well. However, so there will be limits on how many times a player can capture those particular extra valuable mice. Now, something else we wanted to address that we didn't mention in previous Feedback Fridays was that sometimes it can be a little bit awkward when you encounter a prize mouse because it interferes with progress in some areas. So for an example, in the Sunken City, when you encounter a prize mouse or catch a prize mouse, it's going to consume oxygen, it's going to move you forward, and that's a little bit awkward because maybe you feel like you missed an opportunity for sand dollars in a treasure zone, or you missed an opportunity to encounter Tritus in a more dangerous area in the Sunken City. Or another example is the Labyrinth, where if you fail to capture a prize mouse, like a treasure mouse comes by and you fail to capture it, you could get a dead end. It'll also move you forward in the hallway. Depending on what hallway you're in, you might be a little, it's a little awkward, it's a little upsetting that you move forward or you got a dead end from that. So to address this problem, we tried a few different things. One of the first things we tried was to go through all the various areas in the game, like the Sunken City and the Burrows Rift and the Labyrinth and Zocor and stuff like that. And we wanted to see if we could go in and just add checks so that, hey, when you encounter a prize mouse, whether it's a fail to catch or a catch, it won't affect progress. So we're just checking, was this a prize mouse? Okay, don't move you forward in the city. Don't take oxygen. That was working reasonably well. We just kind of quickly put it together in a prototype. However, it did become quite a bit of changes, which is a little scary, lots of extra testing. And so we went back to the drawing board to try to find a simpler solution. ultimately, we abandoned that idea and we came up with something a little different. And I do want to get some feedback on what hunters in the chat here or on the forums. If you're watching this recorded, I'll have a summary up in the tavern where you can let us know your thoughts. I think I might be frozen actually, depending on what in the chat, what they're saying in the chat. Ooh, I am on a very poor Wi-Fi network for some reason that I joined. Fine now, somebody said in the chat. All right, well, let me know if you can see me in a less laggy state. All good here, you're good. All right, well then I shall continue. Hopefully that was a blip in the world of the internet. Good here, good here, good here. All right, thank you very much, chatters. So the system that we've decided on for prize mice, or at least that we're trying out right now, the most recent iteration, is overhauling how you encounter them to begin with. So the change is that you encounter them on a sort of second bonus hunt that can occur after you sound the horn, being brought on a hunt by a friend, or a trap check. So the bonus hunt doesn't affect area progress in any way because we were able to kind of add it as its own special unique thing. It's sort of outside the realm of normal hunting. And it also doesn't consume any cheese or charms on that sort of extra bonus hunt. You can almost think of it, you sound the horn and you get two hunts. One's your normal mouse, and then there's just a chance that you also encounter a prize mouse as well. So to give an idea of what that looks like, I have a little preview here, if I can find a way to put that up. All right, so here, what's going on here? There we go. Clicking everything. So here's a little example of what it might look like. So you can see at 8:31 p.m. I sounded the horn and I captured a steel mouse. However, right after I got a second hunt, so sort of one horn call, two mice, and it's a special type of encounter where, lucky me, a prize mouse wandered by and fell for my trap. I caught a high roller mouse before it could even touch my cheese. And that's supposed to imply that you don't lose a piece of cheese for that special encounter. And then he drops King's credits and something new, a King's prize key as well, which we're going to be playing around with, something that is going to be a unique drop from the mice only during giveaways. So if you capture a prize mouse outside of a giveaway, it'll just drop the King's credits. And the high roller here is worth the most King's credits. I think you can get up to 50 from a single catch. And similarly, the mobster will drop Super Brie, and I think 1,000 is going to be the maximum drop a mobster might have for Super Brie. And the leprechaun drops the extremely hard to find mystery pot of gold, which that one will still have a potential for having $25 to $50 cash prize inside of it. A question from the chat was, how many test hunts before this happened? Well, fortunately for testing purposes, we can crank up the rate of encounter to try that out. So it didn't take too many in the test environment to get one. Well, we can even skip ahead a little bit to the feedback question. So now, what do you hunters in the chat, what do you think of this new system? Obviously, it takes care of all those awkwardness. A nice point now is that the prize mice will be able to come around with any cheese in the game. So even if you're using that super valuable piece of diamond cheese, when you hunt, you could capture one of the diamond mice, and then you'll get a bonus encounter of a prize mouse. However, that does not consume the piece of diamond cheese. So no longer do you have to worry about what cheese you're using. Some positive comments in the chat. Like it, love it, neat, awesome, nice, sounds great, interesting. I need to test it. Please send leprechauns to my trap. All right. So asking, I don't mind them being rare, but why are they so hard to catch? They are extremely tricky mice. They are the hardest mice in the game. Somebody's asking, I can get a prize mouse anywhere then. That is correct. The only spot that we will exclude prize mice from will be the meadow, which was the case before and will continue to be the case. I do think there's also a stipulation when you first start the game as a sort of tutorial mode where you can sound the horn really quickly, and that will also be disabled. So it's not until you sort of reach the point where your horn calls are 15 minutes apart that can you encounter prize mice. Will we know if we miss one? Yes, you get a similar looking journal entry, and it kind of has a little box with a chain on it. It'll be pink. I don't have a screenshot of that, but I think it says something along the lines. Well, let me see. I'll go check what it says actually. Let's go take a look. Take a look. It's in a book. All right. Checking it out. Checking it out. We got here. Oh, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. All right. There's the lucky me. It says, shoot, a prize mouse was nearby but didn't set off my trap. The mouse name scampered off without coming near my cheese. So again, it sort of reiterates that a mouse came by your trap, but it just sort of scampered off. It's a little bit more like a fail to attract, I suppose. It's presented in that because it won't steal a piece of your cheese without setting off your trap. And then we've tweaked them a little bit for the trap checks, where I returned to check my trap and found that a prize mouse had visited. I caught a so-and-so mouse before it could even touch my cheese. Drop the following loot. So you'll get slightly different journal entry on trap checks versus a horn call, whether your friend or you brought you on a hunt. So it's good to see lots of positive feedback. In the chat there, and you can let us know in the forum thread if you're watching this recorded. Now, do you find that at all confusing or a bit of a too far of a deviation as far as how the game works? Because technically this is 2 mice on 1 hunt, which I don't think there's anywhere in the game that does that. Oh, that was an interesting suggestion from the chat too, was to make glitch paw mice work the same way. That's interesting. That we might look into that. That's a pretty good suggestion. No guarantees, because that might be a little bit of work to pull that off. I may not do it at the same time as we do prize mice. Will I catch one eventually? Well, the next time we do a giveaway, there will be an increased abundance of prize mice, and the cooldown time is gone off Treasure, Snooty, and High Roller. So you will be able to encounter those with a little bit more regularity. It also takes care of an awkward problem that I touched on in previous Feedback Fridays, where if you captured those 3 relatively more common prize mice during a giveaway, so Treasure, Snooty, High Roller, the only mice left in the pool is the Mobster and Leprechaun. Leprechaun's so insanely rare that realistically the Mobster is the only thing in the encounter pool. And then if you're a newer player with a weaker, especially with a weaker trap that has really low chance against the Mobster, then that's the only mouse you could encounter when you sort of get into the prize mouse encounter mode. So that would lead to these streaks of failing to catch a Mobster, which was just really weird and confusing behavior. So that's why we gutted the whole system, overhauled it again, and that weird behavior is now gone. And I'm just writing down some feedback from the chat here. Does our power luck really affect the catch rate of prize mice? Yes, it does. Now, the old system, it was a little bit weird where the cooldown timers were sort of buffing the power of the mice to send them to super high levels. Now, they're still extremely challenging mice to capture. But that little bit of weirdness is gone, so take it with a grain of salt. However, you should see a few less fail to catch, but they are still very strong mice. However, they won't be quite as strong as they were in previous giveaways because the cooldown timer's gone. Are they completely random? Yes. So kind of how you almost can think of it works now when you go on a hunt. There is a small chance that you trigger that bonus hunt. And that basically says, okay, cool, here's your regular mouse, now let's do a prize encounter. And then it picks one of the random prize mice, and obviously Treasure is the most common one to be picked, and Leprechaun is the least common to be picked. So then it picks out that mouse, and then it's just your trap versus the mouse at that point. So it's the power of the mouse versus the power of your trap, and if you capture it, it'll drop its loot. Now the way the cooldown timers for Mobster and Leprechaun work is that if you've recently caught a mobster, because I think we kind of have a rule of one prize per every 30 days per hunter, it'll just exclude the mobster from being a mouse that it can potentially select during the encounter. However, because the treasure, the snooty, and the high roller mouse don't have cooldown timers, it avoids that awkward scenario where many of the mice are taken out of the cooldown time, so there's only a few mice left in the pool. I still need a high roller myself, so I'm hoping to have some better luck in the future. All right, the next little thing we're going to preview is a new type of treasure map that we've been working on. And I can put up a what's going on here. There we go. Keep losing my sound when I change to put an image on the screen. So we're working on a new type of treasure map, and we're calling it a rainbow treasure map. So this is a rainbow scroll case. Now these will be special types of treasure maps that will only be handed out occasionally. So it's just kind of a nice little special prize, or a you can almost think of it just almost like an event reward. The scroll case contains a short, long, or giant rainbow treasure map depending on your title when you open it. So it sort of scales in difficulty depending on your hunter's title. So lower ranked hunters will get a short map, high ranked hunters will get a giant map. And the rewards also scale as well. So if you are a lower ranked hunter, you could hold on to the scroll case and wait to open it up later if you wanted to. Is an option. You're also now potentially familiar with the way consolation prizes work on the maps. If you've done a Halloween, I was wrong, and I just can't stream without you. Internet, come back. All right, I'll see if I'm back online now. Let's try this again. My internet apparently cut out. I've switched Wi-Fi networks. I do believe I was connected to an access point that is a little bit far away from our boardroom here, so that potentially could have caused a problem. So I'll see in the chat if anyone can hear me now. Didn't appreciate my singing? See, I thought it was beautiful, but somebody in the chat didn't agree. Did I change my room? I'm sitting on the other side of the boardroom table now. That is most likely superstition more than scientific evidence, but I'm slightly closer to the wireless access point now. And teleported. All right, I will take that as confirmation that you can see me again. So we'll pick back up with these rainbow treasure maps. So these are special types of treasure maps, and as I was saying, the challenge of the treasure map is not so much from the mice you find on the map, but the sheer quantity. There can be 60, 100, or 120 mice. Now that's a lot of mice. However, all the mice are relatively easier to find breeds, with only a few select tricky ones thrown in. The special scroll cases will be available during select times, so you'll want to make sure you have friends available. Short rainbow treasure map, a long rainbow treasure map, and for high levels, the giant rainbow treasure map, leading to a short rainbow treasure chest up to a giant rainbow treasure chest. 100, yes, there are 120 mice on the map that leads to this particular treasure chest. As I was saying though, they're relatively easier breeds. It'll also take you across the entire kingdom, so it's a little bit more in the vein of a relic hunter treasure map, where you will have to go to quite a few locations. There's lots of traveling to do, and there's lots of mice to check off. However, there's not too many extremely difficult mice. For example, there's not going to be a crystal behemoth mouse. There's not going to be retired minotaur. It'll be easier breeds, but there's just so many of them that you kind of need to band together with your friends, spread out, and try to tackle the mice as quick as you can. Can they be dusted? Yes, they can be dusted into to find a rare version. Also, as I was saying, they can be cashed out for the consolation prize at any time. So if you do get one of the 120 mice maps and you get halfway through it and you decide, you know, I don't think I want to finish this 120 mouse map, you will be able, or the map owner specifically, will be able to cash it out for a quantity of gold, points, ancient charms, as well as I think one of the other items that are in the chest as well. You'll get a quantity of those as well based on how many mice you capture. The reward, well, there's points, gold. I believe rainbow treasure or rainbow luck charms are inside of the treasure chest as well. I believe king's credits as well. They're a little bit in the vein of a relic hunter map. However, they are not seasoned. There's no chance of finding the seasonal relic hunter limited edition item because there won't be a season 3, season 4 rainbow treasure chest. So it had some positive feedback from the chest, although somebody said too easy. I want one with almost 700 mice. Uh-oh, says I'm back online. Let me get a little closer. I'm gonna get closer to the door. Back again, all right. Having some internet issues today. I hope no one else is streaming in the office, although I may blame the Wi-Fi today more than our bandwidth. So you can look for those coming as far as timeline, the infamous dev soon there. I'll commit to the word soon, but that could really mean anything. So the final thing I want to give a quick preview of is the Great Winter Hunt. So we've been working on the Great Winter Hunt, and we've started to put together some of the basics. So we were working on a lot of the design aspect of it, and now we're starting to actually kind of write some code and get the ball rolling a little bit so we can start playing through it and see if see how we like the design before we go into too nitty-gritty details of things for the Great Winter Hunt. This year's event is planned to have a bit of a toboggan theme, and I actually drew inspiration from a suggestion from a mouse hunter on the forums, I think 2 Feedback Fridays ago, which was I think maybe 3 weeks ago in the summary. They suggested a toboggan themed one that sounded pretty fun, so we drew some inspiration from that, and it'll have a toboggan theme where you're racing down slopes to earn different rewards for completing different courses. So you'll be able to sort of pick your reward by choosing which course you want to go down. Now, all that said, big disclaimer is that we're still pulling things together, and obviously plans may change when we start to play test through things. So it's a bit too early to give a preview or too many more details or even commit to too many details, but that's the direction that we're kind of taking it in. The winter calendar was a question in the chat. It will be back, the advent calendar, as a nice little bonus for once a day from the 1st to the 24th. You'll be able to open up a door and find a chocolate and a bonus item. The explosive toboggan ride. Yeah, there were a couple toboggan-themed traps already from previous Great Winter Hunts. I think the Double Diamond Adventure was the top-notch one, but they won't be coming back because they are limited edition. Will the Great Winter Hunt, from the chat here, have almost all event mice again, like Halloween, which was awesome. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. We finally had enough Halloween mice that we could pretty well just make the event all event mice. I think we have more than enough Great Winter Hunt mice, so we'll do our best as well to make it primarily event mice during the Great Winter Hunt as well, because off the top of my head I couldn't say, but I know I think the technical term is lots. There are lots of winter-themed mice. Lots of love in the chat. All right. All right, so we'll share a little bit more about the Great Winter Hunt as it approaches. Obviously, we're still in the early stages. We've just sort of finished the preliminary design, and now we're just starting to kind of code a little bit of the design just to make sure that we like it before we really start going into nitty-gritty details of kind of balancing things out and coming up with loot drops and rewards and things like that. So that brings us to a couple feedback questions for hunters in the chat. And if you're watching this recorded, in the tavern section of the forums, I post a summary where you can also let us know your feedback. So I already asked about prize mice, and I put down a few little notes, but that seemed overwhelmingly positive about the sort of proposed new system of how prize mice can work. Certainly hunters in the chat enjoyed that, and it wasn't too confusing, which we were a little worried about the confusion factor, but seems pretty good. So the other question we have is about the toxic spill, which reminds me, I have to sound my hunter sword. Excuse me for a second here. Let's see what I'm going to get. I haven't quite filled my pollutant barrel. My efforts were fruitless. A telekinetic mouse ate a piece of cheese without setting off my trap. So I wanted to ask hunters, and in the chat you can let us know, what do you think of the new system of the toxic spill, so the new way that the toxic spill works? Now, if you aren't familiar, if you didn't browse that news post, the big change we did was no longer have the amount of pollution based on the number of mice that are being captured by hunters, and instead we went with a much easier to understand, less confusing timer. So when it starts up, you can see, hey, that's Archduke, and in 32 hours it's going to drop to Grand Duke. Yeah, much better. I missed the mega toxic spill tournaments. I don't know if Michelle has any plan, but I do believe there are some toxic spill tournaments scheduled right now. The timer system is better, nice improvement. All right, positive feedback. The crude pollutant drops are still very low. It will take, I think, a couple days to fill it up with some fairly active hunting, but we'll keep that in mind. Timer is better, yeah. And before, it was evident because we tend to babysit it a little bit, and we kind of see, okay, how many hunters are there? And this is taking too long. This doesn't seem fun, and we'd be constantly monitoring it a little bit, and it was definitely awkward, and that was good feedback for us that it needed to change. So, someone just bought the theme. That is poor timing, but you do now have one of the most exclusive themes in the game to show off your toxic spill hunting prowess while you now hunt for more pollutinum. And it is a little bit of an awkward danger whenever we update anything. However, it's, we try to give a little bit of a preview and feedback Friday to kind of let hunters know something's coming, but there's not a perfect solution around that. Yep, there will be, someone's asking about the frequency, there will be a little bit more frequent. It was a while before the last toxic spill prior to this one because we were overhauling it a little bit, so we wanted to kind of fine tune it before we launched another one, but now we can do it with more regularity. What does the upgraded trap do? I don't know if anyone's built one, but it gives you +1 crude pollutinum. So it's good for especially lower level spills. I mean, if it starts at count and you want to kind of quickly fill up your barrel where the mice aren't too challenging, you can use that trap that has slightly lower stats than maybe one of your other hydro traps, but it will collect pollutinum at a quicker rate despite the lower catch rate. There's a question, will it start from Archduke every time? It can start anywhere from count to Archduke. I think it won't start anywhere lower than count. But which rank it starts at from there is random. It should feel a question from the chat with longer for each rank. It should feel slightly longer. The exact times are in the news post, and we may tweak those a little bit based on feedback as well. But I think the Archduke is the longest phase. It lasts 32 hours. Then the next few last 24 hours. Then the final 3, if I recall correctly, last 18 hours. That whole thing adds up to 7.5 days. Now, mind you, with the pollutinum limit, that's sort of in place so that it's not a week-and-a-half long event for every single hunter. It's maybe a 2 or 3 day long thing for every hunter to fill their barrel. It's an area modeled a lot after patience. So the cap on the pollutinum is 250. We don't have plans to raise the cap. The other comment about 24 hours to catch the menace, that would be in the Grand Duke phase, I suppose. When you do level up to Archduke, you will have not just 24 hours, but an additional 32 because the menace is in the Archduke phase, and I think it's a little bit more abundant in the Archduke phase as well. I know I was able to crown the mutated behemoth. This was my first spill since I became an Archduke. The start time, question about the start time of the spills, they will be a little bit more random. I mean, some people probably noticed that this particular spill started up very shortly after our offices opened, and that was just because it was the first one since we overhauled it, so we wanted to be able to monitor it closely. However, the start times will be much more random. They could be in the middle of the night for us, though, so they could start in the morning. Yeah, there was another little awkwardness of the spill that we thought about. We didn't quite come up with a perfect solution, but sort of being able to queue your ability to enter it or something like that. But we're going to kind of watch how the spill works now and may revisit it again in the future after a few more. But No plans to in the immediate future. All right, that brings us to the final part of Feedback Friday, and that is the trivia, or as Giorgio would call it, the QAR, the question, the answer, the reward, because he likes seeing the QAR that I would put down in my notes. And today's trivia question for hunters in the chat is, how much extra luck and power bonus do the washboard base provide when hunting at the toxic spill? So what special bonus does it get applied to it while you are at that specific location? The answer is not 48. One day, though, the answer will be 48, but today is not the day. 5 and 5% is correct. Katrina had the answer correct. And I think the base already has luck. I think it's maybe an 8 luck base, so it gets an additional 5, which makes it useful for those higher level spills where you're looking for a little extra power, especially when you combine that with a soap charm, and that can be quite powerful as well. All right, reward link coming in. I believe I already tested this one. Yes, I did. Lots of champion emotes going on in the chat. And some pink hands clapping. Just realized I spelled treasure wrong in my notes here. I got a red squiggly line there. There were far too many E's in that word. Yeah, the link is a little awkward on mobile. You'll have to copy and paste it into a browser because it will try to open up the MouseHunt mobile app, and it doesn't know what to do with that link, which is unfortunate. We did look a little bit into trying to add that to the MouseHunt mobile app. However, we faced some technical challenges and weren't quite able to do it yet. Will there be an upgraded washboard base is a question. There are no plans right now. We haven't had any other plans for additional rewards from the spill. We just added a new batch. That said, every now and then we may revisit it and brainstorm some new rewards based on suggestions and stuff, or tweak the timing a little bit as well. We're going to kind of watch how hunters go through the spill and how they interact with it and the feedback we get. Why doesn't the title base have a bonus with Hydro or at least the School of Sharks? Well, the School of Sharks has plenty of power on its own. I don't think it needs a base to even make it more powerful. Can we get blueprints from the Toxic Spill chest? I do not believe so. I think the main reward from those chests is the 100k gold. It's a way, if you are not interested in anything else at the spill, but you still want to participate, you can cash out your pollutinum for gold. You do get a little bonus item though. It can range from scrap metal, soapy suds, soap charms, rotten charms. I think stale cheese is in there, stale super brie. It's more resource consumable type stuff. In the Labyrinth, at what number clues do epic doors appear? Off the top of my head, I forget. It might be 50 or 60. I'm leaning towards 60, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But that sounds familiar to me. Could do with extra uses for sand dollars was a suggestion from the chat. We did recently add the ultimate anchoring charm, and now that sort of provides a forever consumable use for no matter how many sand dollars you have. You can buy processors to either sell on the marketplace, or you can craft ultimate anchoring charms with all your sand dollars by purchasing a processor. 50. People are saying it's 50. There we go. For the Labyrinth question, it is at 50 clues an epic door will appear. Seems ubiquitous through the chat. High level of confidence. I'll see if I can quickly find it to confirm it. Now it's been a while. No, it is in fact 60. You need 60 clues to unlock the Tier 3 epic hallways. They will not show until you have 60 of one type of clue. Unless there is a bug we are not aware of. But looking at how the Labyrinth works, required hallway clues Tier 3 is set to 60. Number of clues needed to trigger specific hallway tiers. So it should be 60, and if it's not, well, there's probably an issue. 80 is for the exit. The question was about specifically the hallways. So the more of the same type of clue you have, it starts to add the chance of seeing better hallways while you're going through the labyrinth. So if you have 60 fealty clues, for example, you could find an epic fealty hallway. Now there is no epic version for treasure and farming, however. It's just the 3 sort of main districts. And it just rains clues in there. So if you have lantern fuel and Gruyere, you definitely want to use it during an epic hallway, because nearly every single mouse you encounter will be one that has clues. 50 is for the exit. So it was a little bit more of a specific question, a bit of a niche one, I suppose. But the exit tiers for the Labyrinth are 15 to get a bronze exit, 50 to get a silver exit, and 80 to get that gold exit, the best possible exit. Now the hallways, while you're going through the Labyrinth, once you get 15 of the same type of clue, you can start to see the superior hallways within the Labyrinth, and once you get 60 of the same type of clue, you can start to see epic hallways appear in the Labyrinth, which that can be quite influential right at the end of that Labyrinth run. If one of the last doors you get is an epic one, especially if it's long and you use Gruyere and light your lantern, you could get way above 100 clues. I've seen some hunters get, I think, 120 plus going into the Labyrinth. That's a lot of stealth. Someone loves the gold looted from the Midas. That is the intention of the treasury, that better treasury district. I think it's called the Treasury Vault. It's all about gold. It's not so much about getting Labyrinth supplies. It's about if you should reach a point where you just have so many Labyrinth supplies, if you've really been in that camping in the Labyrinth forever and ever, that will provide a sort of permanent use for all your excess supplies. Because if you wanted to, you could buy a whole lot of oil, a whole lot of cubes, and a whole lot of magnets, and you could set yourself up on a 80 or 100 treasury run, and that will yield millions of gold. I think it's upwards of 35,000 plus gold per hunt if you do a treasury run. So it's by far probably triple, or at least double the Burrows Rift or other areas that are really good for gold. Wiki info is wrong then. Well, somebody may need to update the wiki. Barring a bug, I am confident that it is 60 for an epic hallway to appear. It's a question about treasure chest rewards for the Labyrinth. Typically, the maps that are themed for a specific area, the rewards are not quite as good as doing a Relic Hunter map, because it's a little bit bonus on top for going through the area as you would normally anyway. There's not a particular, it doesn't propose an extra level of challenge like the Relic Hunter does, where you need to split up and travel around the kingdom and come up with different strategies to complete that map quickly. So with that in mind, the rewards are not quite as good. The Relic Hunter's maps are still the most rewarding treasure chests you can find. And these new rainbow treasure chests will be in a similar vein, where they will take you all across the kingdom. They have a unique challenge in that there will be hundreds of mice on the map. Well, I shouldn't pluralize. There will be 60 to 120 mice on the map, so there will also be quite a significant reward. I think that chest will probably have the most gold out of any treasure chest by quite a margin. A Rift Tribal Isle would be cool. Yeah, eventually we'll be adding more and more rifts, and we're sort of basing them off regions and storylines and adventures, but we're sort of going in order, so we wouldn't skip ahead to a Tribal Isles Rift without first doing a few other ones ahead of it. Any update on the Varmint Valley release question from the chat. No update to give yet. We haven't even really started that yet, but I did mention during a Feedback Friday that is one of the potential goals, something we may want to release next year as the next big release we do is to flesh out law a little bit more. Is the rainbow chest reward better than a dusted arduous? I do believe so. Is there a time limit to complete the rainbow treasure chest? No, you can take as long as you like. That said, I did mention that it has consolation prizes, so if you're halfway through it and maybe an event comes up or there's something else you want to do where you want to be working on a map, then you can cash it out for a portion of the rewards. Any idea when we'll see the rainbow scroll cases? Not quite yet. Keep an eye on the Facebook wall, the news ticker, but probably the Facebook wall more, and we'll likely give a little bit of a heads up when it's coming. Any plans for a Dracano expansion? That is one of the power types that does still have certainly a lot of runway left in it, but no immediate plans, but one day. There are quite a few power types that we'd like to expand with new areas. There's, of course, Law, Draconic, Arcane has a lot of space to grow as well, Shadow, even to a degree Forgotten. That's kind of, we're sort of going in these silos, if you will, and we really wanted to add a lot of new Forgotten areas because I think there were only two, really. There was the Acolyte Mouse and then Balak the Banished. So we wanted to kind of flesh that out and give lots more areas to use some of those really powerful Forgotten traps. Parental. No, I don't think we would see a parental expansion as a question from the chat there. But. Eileen is 300 clues away from 10,000 clues. That's a lot of treasure map clues. You'll definitely be able to stock up if you do a giant rainbow treasure map and help out friends with a few of those giant ones. It will be good for that because it's relatively easier mice, so you can get the treasure clues probably a lot quicker than doing other maps because there are so many fodder mice. And you can pretty well go anywhere in the kingdom because with 120 mice, you can just pick an area at random, and odds are you're going to be getting quite a few mice that drop treasure map clues right off the bat, at least until some of the mice start getting removed off the map there as you catch them. Suggestion for a hopscotch charm in the Labyrinth. I like the theme of it. Well, we should actually finish up pretty soon. Take one more question here from the chat was, will Rainbow Treasure Chests offer the same rewards as Season 3 chests, like maybe all the Ellie traps and theme scraps? No, they are based a little bit off of the level of reward you get from a Relic Hunter map in terms of gold, points, and Ancient Charms. That giant Rainbow Treasure Chest is going to have quite a few Ancient Charms in there. However, it doesn't have a chance at any of the limited edition item stuff because that's all sort of behind the seasoned chests. And whenever we say that, I picture like putting a little bit of salt onto a treasure chest and seasoning it. But just the Relic Hunter maps specifically have like that seasoning sort of thing going for them. So they're still the only ones where you'll be able to find the limited edition trap reward. All right, the fact that my throat is dry from speaking probably means that yes, we've been here for 45 minutes, so it is probably time to wrap up. Now, thanks for joining me this week. Thanks for all the feedback on those 2 questions, and happy hunting. Good luck at the Toxic Spill. Probably see you next week, or maybe it'll be an art one. I don't know. Jacob's off today. Well, that's it. I'll post a summary on the tavern section of the MouseHunt forum. So if you want to, if I missed a piece of your feedback in the chat, by all means, please reply to that thread. Let us know the answers to the feedback questions, any other concerns you have there. But until then, happy hunting. Thanks for joining me.